So your 2 cents on Aaron Rodgers joining the Pittsburgh Steelers and what you think it's going to look like, best you can.
Well, it's a thing, right? I think the first thing you got to say is put it in context. Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady all learned the game in a more sophisticated era before the rule changes in the mid 2010s. And because of that, they all wanted to play as long as they could because they knew that they were taking advantage of a system that was like so much easier, I'll just say. And Peyton still is upset that his arm quit working because he wanted to play forever. Tom did play forever, and Drew's arm quit, and that's why he had to get out. But Aaron, so people say, why do you keep playing? Well, first of all, this is what you're great at. Tomorrow, if he retired, he'd wake up and go, okay, the thing I'm greatest at, I'm not anymore, and what am I even good at the rest of my life? So please understand that the dream dies very hard. He is still very capable. He's not as mobile as he once was, but his arm is still in really good shape. And so he has the processing power from a more sophisticated area that he brings forward. And that you can say, well, the Jets, what happened there? Like with 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, like he's gonna play well. And if you give him protection, give him some weapons. Now, the thing I most worry about, Rich, is that the Steeler offense, Arthur's offense, is not. It's like the most sophisticated offenses today are the innovators, right? It's Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Sean Payton, and Andy Reid, who started it 8 years ago and had a tactical advantage for all those years as people tried to catch up. Now, 3/4 of the league is now doing what all those guys did. So they're going to have to reinvent themselves. But then they have the Steelers. You have other teams that are doing it differently. And I think it's not a perfect match. I'll say it's not a perfect match for who he wants to be and what the Steelers are doing, and even philosophically. So they're going to have to figure out how to fit together. And you saw what happened with the Jets; didn't fit very well, and I'm worried that they might not fit perfect with Pittsburgh.
Well, then let me ask a couple follow-up questions here. Firstly, Steve, what you just said. Arthur Smith doesn't suffer many fools, nor does Aaron Rodgers, but they're both smart guys, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think, what would you suggest would be a perfect blend for what both want to do under the shell of what's currently being done?
One of the superpowers that Aaron has is processing, right? He's been at it a long, long time.
Right.
And so what you want, if your processing power is better than average, you want the ball out. So you need people that can get into space. There's extra space now in the game. Go get people who are talented, who can get in there, find the space in the defense, which there's going to be some in today's game, and get the ball out. And that's it. So like fast hitting him, and that's what he did in Green Bay for years. And so if we're going to be a run 3rd and 8, let's sit in there and wait for someone to break open. That I don't believe that's what they're going to do. But to me, having him be, at least 50-50 on first down and even second down, and getting the ball out quickly, people can get open. Do they have the talent to do that? DK, has the size. Can he find that space? Can he find other people that can be deployed in unique ways? Not just like I formation is dead, right? The Titans keep trying to line up in the I formation, and you have success at it, but you can't go the distance. And so finding unique ways to go deploy people quickly into the open spaces that are in that the defense always leaves you, and then get it out. And if they can do that, yeah, they can be very successful.
And then pulling back on that string that you first laid out there in your opening
monologue
answer. No, in your opening answer, Steve, where, it's interesting. You're saying Rodgers learned the game and excelled at the game at a time where the game was more intricate, complicated. The rules have now made it.
Room.
No, I know.
There's less space. Yeah.
And it's funny because Rodgers, when asked at his press conference yesterday, why are you still doing it? He talked about how it's good for the soul, and that may very well be true, because he's not going to sit there and go, why the hell would I retire? This is easy pickings as long as you protect me and give me weapons. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to say that.
Well, no, but Tom never said it, and Peyton wouldn't have said it. Like, you don't tell people what's going on.
But what do you mean by that? Give me an example. You were just beginning to give examples of how things are
All right,
I guess easier pickings.
Remember the big rule change that happened was that defenders could no longer lead with their head. Well, think about it. If you had to close a gap between you and another person and you couldn't dive at them, you now had to bring your legs, which slows everything down. And now now what's at risk? Not your head, but your shoulders, your joints, your elbows, and everything else. That's what defenders have to do today, and that's why the game suddenly got much more expansive. It was as if it became the Canadian League. The game, the field got bigger. It didn't change, but because defenders couldn't patrol nearly as much speed, it made more college-like space. That's why the college and the pro offenses today are very similar because of the rule changes that are for safety. And so the guys that learned in an era where there was people, you patrol the middle of the field you throw it in the middle of the field at your risk of death, and now, I mean, Tom Brady said it well to me. He was finishing his career and we were talking about one day. So Steve, the flats are always open. The middle of the field is unpatrolled and no one can hit me. Now that's an overstatement. They're not trying to conflate the conversation, but just that for people who learned in a more sophisticated era, it just makes it that much more profitable. And that's why those guys, and Aaron's the last one, right? There's no one, I mean, Matthew Stafford, Matthew and Aaron are the last ones. And I would say a little bit Russell Wilson, a little bit, but Matthew and Aaron are the last ones that have learned in a more sophisticated era and are taking advantage of it.
Well, who are the 20-somethings that you think have the skill set to excel if they can get the neck up stuff going down?
Rich, the game is my game, right? It's guys that can, because there's more space. The prototype is a quarterback that can deliver the ball from the pocket and is very, very efficient. We get that. But who also has to have the legs to go get the free first downs, the free touchdowns that are out there and that are wide open and you got to take. And that's why at the Super Bowl every year, you're seeing being led by the prototypes of Mahomes, and the Josh Allen's hasn't been the Super Bowl, but the Lamar Jackson has been the Super Bowl. But you're right, they're competing for it, right? In the AFC, that's why it's only one guy. Joe Burrow can run around and do it, and in the NFC, you're seeing Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love can get around and do it, and that's why I said for Brock Purdy, look, if you can be an amazing processor, but to go all the way, you need to be able to break the huddle and have the defense worry about you as the 11th person come out of the huddle to threaten the line of scrimmage. That's when things really get humming in the NFL today. And so he did that more last year out of need. But I think we should. To me, you need to plan for it. You need to have the RPOs and to carry the football and make defenses know that we're going to fill that space up as well.
Steve Young here, Pro Football Hall of Famer, chopping it up with him here on this Wednesday of mandatory minicamp week for most in the NFL. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.